13th of August 1977 became known as the Battle of Lewisham. It was basically a day when the National Front tried to march from New Cross to Lewisham, but were repelled by thousands of local people who united to make a stand and send out the loudest of messages that racists and fascists from this disgusting organisation had no place on our streets, in our community and in our lives. Riot shields were used on mainland Britain for the first time ever. Mounted police charged around Lewisham Clock Tower into the counter demonstrations, and around 150 to 200 people sustained injuries. Media reports on the day only told part of the story, though. The National Front should never have been allowed to try and spread their poison in the first place, and there were plenty of people, including my dad, Ron Pepper, who tried to get the march stopped. In the time leading up to the march on the 13th of August, Dad was acting leader of Lewisham Council, and 48 hours before the NF marched, he went to the High Court on behalf of Lewisham Council to seek a writ, forcing the police commissioner at the time, David McNee, to ban the march. But McNee, in his wisdom, thought he knew best, stating that he thought he had no reasonable grounds to think that there would be any serious public disorder. History, of course, says different. The blood, the violence, the tears, and the utter carnage of that day will never be forgotten. At home, though, life was pretty different around that time too. Dad was on the radio and the media quite a bit, talking about the march and talking about trying to get it stopped. And with his high profile came an awful lot more of kind of unwanted attention. The phone started to ring a lot more at all times of day and night. Initially, I thought it was just Dad talking about council business or calls to do with work, or Mum sort of chatting to friends. But things changed, and the calls became it's like sometimes 20 or 30 an hour. And if they weren't silent, they were abusive and threatening. Things like, we know where you live, your threats to set our house on fire, rape my mum, kill me and my sister, who were 13 and 15 at the time. I was 13, my sister was 15. Basically, that was a backdrop to home life in the summer of 1977. My parents used to jot down the times and messages of what was said on little post-it notes next to the telephone, and then these would be passed on to the sort of detective or whatever police officer was sort of dealing with things on that given day. We ended up having a police officer guarding our house for some time, and I used to sleep with a knife under my bed just in case somebody got through the front door. We were also told how to escape should someone basically shove a petrol bomb through the window or through the letterbox, and that was to jump out of the back window and try and avoid landing on the concrete steps into our backyard. Gradually, like once the march and the carnage of the Battle of Lewisham, the calls started to slow down, but that was probably weeks or months afterwards. But I don't think the rage ever did, because 13th of August 1977 and everything around that day was something that never needed to have happened, and was facilitated by those who should not have facilitated it. And the only positive to come out of it was that the people from the borough of Lewisham, as they've subsequently done historically by saving the A&E department, got out there, got on the streets and gave a very loud, clear message, and the message that my dad himself was out there on the streets too, saying, "Fuck off, you're just not welcome here."